What is going on, everybody? John Impemba here with Andrew Cooper. This is the NFL DFS show. It is week 8 of the NFL season. Coop filling in for Howard Bender here today. The man is mega busy at all times here, Coop. So Bender's working on that watch list, getting all the DFS content ready to dominate week 8, just like we dominated week 7. Coop, my friend, man, how we doing?
What's up, dude? And boy, did we dominate week 7. I mean, go over to the Fantasy Lime Discord and go over to the winner circle.
Case.
The trophy case, winner circle, man.
We got over there,
I mean, great. Not only just like huge wins from guys like you, Malin. There's a couple I saw in there. One of them, Voice in Fuego, our buddy Troy.
Yeah.
Only $34 of worth of lineups, and he won over $3,000.
Yeah.
Right?
Lifetime subscriber, our guy Rex, who's always in the chat. He took home a ton of money as well in those screenshots. Our guy IC3, took home the early slate GPP for like $1,000. I mean, dude, we had a tremendous NFL week 7, and we've had a strong year all season long. Bender has been putting together just ridiculous dartboards, playbooks, and example lineups for the family throughout the year, and we're going to continue that success here into week 8. We have no bye weeks here this week, Coop, so we got a full slate of games here for NFL week 7. So some of the reasons that we had such a successful week here really had to do it again, not just the playbook, but the coaches series that we do each and every week. Coop, you do the tight end coach, I do the quarterback coach, Freeland does the running backs, Colby Conway with the wide receivers, and Dan Malin with the defenses here. Some of the top performing players in combos. I had Patrick Mahomes as the cover boy of the quarterback coach this past week. Nobody played him. I was stunned. The highest game total on the board. Not a single person played Patrick Mahomes. He was under 10% rostered. The easy stack with Taylor Kelsey there, together. Kelsey putting together a tremendous day. I know he was in your tight end coach.
We had Mark Andrews in the tight end coach. He scored 2 touchdowns. We had Darren Waller in there. He was the tight end too. So I mean, it was a good week to pay up. We let you know that, and just crushing. And it's time to crush again. It's time to dominate again, baby.
Yeah. So. Other top performers here. Defenses. The Browns gave up 38 actual points, and we're still the second highest scoring defense on the week. Chicago actually took home the honors as the number 1 scoring defense in DFS. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, nobody really played them. They should have. Lamar Jackson went off against Detroit. Josh Downs, Puka Nacua, Josh Palmer, big weeks at wide receiver. Donta Foreman was another big playbook hit for us here. Only 10% rostered in the Millie Maker this past week. A lot of people went with Jerome Ford, who had a nice little week for a value play, but Donta Foreman coming through with 3 touchdowns in that matchup for him last week. Jahmyr Gibbs filling in for David Montgomery. 9 receptions for Jahmyr Gibbs. Andy found the end zone for Detroit in that loss that they had. And then, as you mentioned, spending up at tight end was the way to go. Kelsey, Andrews, Waller, all big-time performances last week in week 7. So we turn the page here, Coop. We turn the page now to week 8. Let's pull up our DraftKings main slate here and get to it, breaking down each position by position like we do each and every week. I want to get your thoughts here. Top price quarterbacks on the board, 13 games, so we're pretty much loaded. Mahomes, Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Tua Tagovailoa, really separating themselves from a pricing point here. Patrick Mahomes against Denver, Jalen Hurts against Washington, Lamar Jackson against Arizona, up over 8K. Let me know, man. I obviously have 2 of these 3 in the quarterback coach. How would you go about ranking these top quarterbacks today?
Yeah, I mean, you almost have to, if you take it seriously and you make multiple lineups, you almost have to have one Mahomes and Kelsey stack. And we'll talk about Kelsey and the situation there. But I mean, the reality is these teams have played already. The Chiefs crushed. This defense has been historically terrible. I mean, they let up 70 points in a game. Yeah. Right. So, I mean, the possibilities are endless. So I think that's going to be, the thing is, it's not going to be like last week, John, where he was under rostered. I think this week he's going to be correctly, fairly heavily rostered. So yeah, you probably got to make one lineup there, right?
Yeah. Cash games, I think for sure. And then, he may go overlooked in tournaments. I would be, surprised if that ended up being the case, but Lamar Jackson is a little bit cheaper coming off just the ridiculous day that he had. Right. 21 to 27, 3 passing touchdowns, 357 yards, and then added a rushing touchdown as well. So you're saving a few $100 on Lamar Jackson, and he's going up against an equally bad Arizona Cardinals defense. I think in tournaments, you may see more people pivot down to Lamar Jackson to save the couple of $100. Do you think about stacking, right, in DFS? Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, sheet versus stack than Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce. So that's why I think in tournaments, you're actually going to get more value potentially out of Mahomes here again. Well, if you're in cash games, I think Mahomes feels like a pretty good lock.
Right. And Howard's pointed this out multiple times. That's why you always got to pay attention to Howard's articles where he talks about the systems. This defensive system that the Cardinals run is the same one that the Eagles run. It's very similar to what the Lions do, which it's like an outside in pass funnel. You got the corners on the outside kind of forcing things in. And because of that, the tight ends can crush in those situations. We saw last week 2 touchdowns for Mark Andrews. I mean, I could see another situation this week where this Cardinals team gives up 2 touchdowns again. I mean, the thing with the Cardinals is for years, they were trying to find answers versus the tight end. They had it for 1 year with Devondre Campbell, and they let him leave. They let him go to the Packers. And, essentially they thought Isaiah Simmons was the answer. He proved not to be. He's not even on the team anymore. So again, it's another situation where if you're going to go that route, if you're going to go Mahomes, you got to stack him with the tight ends. And if you're going to go Lamar Jackson, you do the same with Mark Andrews.
Yeah, I agree with you there 100%. Let me get your thoughts on Tua Tagovailoa here. We talked a little bit about, or I have at least a few times now, when he's gone up against tougher defenses on the season, his production really hasn't been there. Right. Against Philadelphia last week, again, just 11 fantasy points, good defense. Against Buffalo, just 14 fantasy points. We consider Buffalo at that time in week 4, they were relatively healthy, good defense. Against New England in New England week 2, just 13 fantasy points. We consider New England's defense to be pretty good. Now they're home against New England again. Reports that Waddle and Hill are maybe not 100%. Tyreek Hill did return to practice today. We're recording here Thursday afternoon. So Tyreek Hill did practice after not practicing on Wednesday. But, $7,700 Miami Dolphins quarterback here. Are you worried about Tua this week against New England?
I'm out. Yeah, I'm out, man. And the big reason is that New England does well against teams that have a couple really good assets. And they do poorly against teams that spread the ball around. And this Dolphins team, I actually tweeted about it earlier, they use multiple guys for huge snap shares that are technically eligible pass catchers that you don't even have to cover them. Like over the last 3 games, Durham Smythe, the tight end, and Alec Ingold, the fullback, have combined for nearly 200 snaps, 196 snaps, and neither player has touched the football. So in that situation, when the offense operates that way, defenses that are good at keying in on the top guys do well against this team. And you saw it last week with the Eagles. If it's just Waddle and it's just Hill, and Waddle's got the back and Hill's got a knee now, or it's a hip, I think it is. I'm just going to stay away from this one, especially because you're not getting – the price is pretty expensive,
Yeah, for sure. So I agree with you. I think it's, as a top price play, he's a fade for me when it comes to this week. What are your thoughts on Jalen Hurts? I mean, he's wedged between Jackson and Mahomes, could actually be the lowest owned of the 3 if you think about it. Any interest here, Hurts against Washington this week?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good matchup, and it's, of course, the guy's virtually a lock for a rushing touchdown. It's just, if I'm going to pay up, I kind of like, it's simple, right? It's like you can't have everybody, and I like Mahomes or Jackson instead, but I could be sold, John. If you're in, you're the QB whisperer, so if you're in, I'm in.
Again, I think that if you're in tournaments, I think, again, he makes a good pivot for multi-lineup, and I usually play the 3 max, the 15 3 max, the 23 max, something like that. I'll sprinkle some rostership here of these top quarterbacks. Okay. I might make a lineup 1 of each, honestly, just to get some exposure because I like A.J. Brown a lot this week against Washington. I'll probably have A.J. Brown as my most owned wide receiver this week. So even if I don't get Hurts, I'll have Brown exposure in these other lineups here just to still get some of that action.
A.J. Brown's a virtual lock for 100 yards right now.
He has tied the NFL record for consecutive games of 125 yards or more. I think it's 5 straight weeks. It's Calvin Johnson and it's somebody else from like the 70s, I think it is, or something like that. That has
Don Hudson or something.
Yeah, from the tied for 125. So if he goes for 125 or more this week, he sets the new NFL record for consecutive games there. So
sometimes these guys care about that. I mean, I know Antonio Brown cared about that. I imagine Christian McCaffrey knows he has the consecutive touchdown
run.
Yeah. So some of these guys care about that stuff.
We'll talk about CMC here in a moment because he is high priced this week at the running back spot. Sure. Mid-tier quarterbacks. Listen, I like CJ Stroud coming off of a bye week. Got a couple of different reasons for this one. Carolina secondary is beat up. and they've not has been as stingy as they were in the beginning of the season because of it. And then I just like narrative, Scoop. We like to play narrative game all the time. And obviously there was reports earlier that the Carolina Panthers coaching staff really liked CJ Stroud. The Carolina Panthers owner, however, liked Bryce Young. And it got to a point where there was a press conference a couple of weeks back where the head coach was basically like, we're going to do our best to support Bryce Young. You know, some owners like to sort of just sit up there and watch their teams be run. Other owners like to have input on their teams, and our owner likes to have input. At paraphrasing, wasn't an exact quote here, but essentially he's saying the owner wanted Bryce Young here. Now you have CJ Stroud going up against the coach that wanted him and the owner that didn't. I think there could be some motivation here for Stroud. Plus, he added the fact he's getting Tank Dell back. I do like this a lot for Stroud here coming off their bye week.
Yeah, and I know I've talked to Howard about this. He's in. So, I mean, I think for the mid-tier price point, CJ Stroud is the company play. He's the family play this week. You talk about banged up, like they're missing JC Horn. They're missing Jeremy Chin. I mean, like, so, and the beauty is you look at it and it says, okay, 15th, middle of the pack, right? That's what people say. But they were actually very good early in the season. The early season narrative was you can run on the Panthers, but you don't throw on them. Mm-hmm. Now you just do whatever you want.
Just do whatever you want.
Right. So I think that we like Stroud and a little foreshadowing when we get to the wide receivers. I think there's some pretty good options to pair with him as well.
Definitely some good options to pair with Stroud. What other mid-tier quarterbacks on your radar, Coop? Anybody that you like matchup wise here in this 6K upper 5K range?
Yeah, I mean, I look at it and I want parts of that Rams Cowboys game. I think that could potentially get to shootout level. And part of me says Stafford, but I don't know if I want to pay up for him. If Stafford and Dak, it's pretty fair. I think I'd rather just take Dak in the extra $500. So I don't know where you're saying. You in on Dak?
Yeah, Stafford obviously has the more intriguing receiver set because Cooper Kupp is the best wide receiver that's going to be, we think he's the best wide receiver that's going to be in this game. Puka Nacua outproduced him last week, but Nacua Kupp, certainly the best tandem wide receivers in this game. But I think Dallas's defense is a little bit better with that pass rush against the Rams offensive line that I don't really think is all that good. Could give Stafford some trouble here. So I don't mind Dak. Again, last week his production was aided by that rushing touchdown coming off their bye week, but still, 70% of his passes completed, 272 through the air. Probably could have had more if Michael Gallup would just catch a football.
I know, dude.
So I kind of like Dak Prescott here at $6,100. I don't find myself really playing a lot of Dallas this season. That offense hasn't really gelled all that well. Pollard's had some weeks. CeeDee Lamb's had some weeks. But, I think at home against a Rams team here that I think, isn't really that great defensively, I think I could see Prescott here at $6,100.
I like it too, man. And honestly, we'll talk about it when we get to the wide receivers, but I almost right now don't want to play the guessing game, the Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua guessing game. So it gets a little easier if you just go with Dak and play the hits, right?
Yeah, if you're stacking this game, you'll play Dak with a Lamb or a Cooks, and then you'll probably have to pick a receiver to come back. The way DFS lineups are built, but correlation doesn't always come through in DFS. We've certainly seen that happen this year. Right. Some value quarterbacks. I actually think this is probably the biggest list of value QBs that we've seen in recent weeks here. Jordan Love against Minnesota, just kind of attacking this bad Minnesota defense. I know Jordan Love has left a lot to be desired, but there are some decent pass catchers there for Green Bay. Derek Carr against the Colts is one that I know a lot of people are going to be looking at this week. We know Indy's pass defense is pretty trash. Seems like Chris Olave is going to be available despite whatever legal troubles he may have recently gotten into with the pullover speeding incident. Russell Wilson going up against KC looked horrible against Kansas City 2 weeks ago, but you still have to look at the Chiefs defense here and know that Sutton and Judy potentially in a shootout matchup. But Coop, I got to get your take here. The cheapest guy I'm willing to go this week, the guy I'm starting in seasonal leagues this week, Desmond Ridder against the Tennessee Titans. Only $5,100 on DraftKings. Do you attack this Titans pass defense this week?
I'm in, man. And I like what you wrote on the in the QB write-up this week on the QB coach write-up. People obviously, if you're watching this video, you've already checked that out, but definitely go check that out. I like what you wrote on Ridder. It opened up my eyes because I pulled up when I read it, I was like, that's not true. and I pulled up the stats. Basically, you pointed out that that he's attempted at least 30 passes in all but 2 games and at least 25 in all but 1. And I was like, there's no way that's right, but there it is right on the screen.
We're used to Mariota last year throwing like 17 balls, but Ritter is actually throwing the ball more.
Yeah.
So it's and trust me, it blows my mind too when I do the research for these things. Just to let you guys know that we are doing the research for the things that we do right up. So the perception of Atlanta is that they're run. Now they've been in some of these competitive games where it's kind of forced them to throw the ball a little bit more. Maybe that doesn't end up happening with Tennessee this week, but still, I think you're going to see Ritter throw enough because teams really still can't run the ball in Tennessee.
No.
So in order to score, I think they're going to have to throw. And I think Ritter this week is quite appealing.
Yeah, he's nice, man. And you know what it is, John? It's that because the game where Ritter didn't throw was the first game of the season. And we all sat back and said, oh, here we go again, classic. And then it hasn't been that way. So we got to get out from behind these preconceived notions. And the real problem, of course, for running is Jeffrey Simmons, man. He's just one, like, as long as he's there in the middle of that Titans defense, it's going to be tough. Same thing with Vita Vea. Like, some of these guys, Vince Wilfork, all those years for the Patriots. Like, if you have a plug in the middle,
Ted Washington just taking up 3, Gilbert Brown taking up 4 offensive linemen.
Gilbert Brown with the neck roll, dude. Those pictures of Gilbert Brown crack me up. The grave digger, Gilbert Brown. But seriously, yeah, like it does change. It does change what plays you can call. Like the A gap is just out of the question for some of these teams. So, I'm in on Ritter. I think you got to do a Ritter lineup. You got to do a Derek Carr lineup. I'm not as bullish on Jordan Love.
Sure.
And Russell Wilson scares me because, our brain says, oh, they have to throw. Well, last time these two teams played, which was very recently, they had to throw. And I don't think Russell Wilson threw for 100.
Yeah, he got picked off like 3 times, I think, in that game. A couple of them were tip balls, not necessarily totally on his fault. But yes, the idea technically you would think is like, all right, well, if the Chiefs are going to hang 30, Denver's going to have to throw to stay competitive in this game. But it doesn't always just add up to that. When it comes to our rostership this week here, Coop, we just got some updated information there when it comes to our DFS projections. Would it shock you to see Sam Darnold getting some love this week? Now, Brock Purdy, dealing with the injuries that he is, I think Darnold might be a min price. QB, $4,300. Sam Darnold starts this week against the Cincinnati Bengals.
Well,
do you make a lineup at $4,300?
Well, you said, would it shock me to see him getting love? How much love are we talking about here?
He is the 3rd highest projected.
Oh my God. That is wild. Honestly, though.
Now, this is very early. It's our Thursday update. So again, these will certainly change as we move along to the weekend and into Sunday. But as of right now, he is number 3 in DFS rostership here.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen it. I don't want to go too far off base here, but there's a subreddit called The Darnold, kind of like the old subreddit, The Darnold. And it is exactly what you would imagine. It's literally all Sam Darnold, Donald Trump memes. And I got to admit, it's hilarious. They must be going crazy this week. But I don't think it's just a meme, man. They went out of their way to get this player, right? They got rid of Trey Lance, so he at least showed them enough. Yeah. And we're talking he's sitting down in the Batmobile here, right? Like
Shanahan offense,
Shanahan offense. They got the best left tackle in the league. They got the best fullback in the league. They got the best running back in the league. And their wide receiver, I know Deebo's gonna be out, but Ayuk's top tier. George Kittle obviously top tier. So yeah, I mean, I think that if he starts, I will have a lineup. If he starts, I will have a lineup.
You'll make one. Listen,
at least one. I have to have one.
Last week, Bender took the deep dive in one of his tournament lineups with Brian Hoyer. That one didn't necessarily pay off, but maybe Sam Darnold no longer seeing ghosts in San Francisco. Running,
I'll tell you, the Raiders are not the Cardinals.
That's true.
That's the difference.
They do have Dante Adams and Jacoby Myers, who might be the rivaling Puka Nacua in Cooper Kupp here. We talked about it. Jacoby Myers actually being more productive than Devontae Adams this year in terms of points. All right, running back. Christian McCaffrey is your highest priced running back here on the slate. And when it comes to DFS rostership here, kind of floating in the middle of the pack because of how expensive he is. But Cincinnati's run defense is not all that great, and we are talking about Christian McCaffrey here after all. So got to think worthy of a lineup or two this week for those who are building.
Yeah, he's just so expensive, dude. He's 1,000 more than anybody else. Over
1,000 more
1,000
than anybody else. Like a few years ago, though, if you didn't play Christian McCaffrey, you lost.
You
So
lost, yeah.
you had to play. You had to play the price tag game with him. So he's 92. After that, for me, I didn't really come to another running back that I liked until we got down to Kamara and ATN. Kamara, just the pass game involvement that he gets is just absurd on DraftKings. Full point PPR there. He's now had 2 games since he's come back. 12 and 13 catches, 14 targets in 2 of the 4. I mean, hard to not want some exposure here from a guy that's just going to be peppered like that.
Right. And I'm a little confused on the pricing for ETN and Kamara, honestly, both of them, where I look at Mostert and the fact that Mostert didn't even get all the work with Salvin Ahmed there. And, the Barkley going up against the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
And Derrick Henry, who sometimes they just play Tajay Spears on the pass downs. I just find like you're saying, I find no reason to pay for those players. Like if ETN's going to be that much cheaper than those guys, then I'm just not doing it. So I'm with you that it's like Kamara for me, or I'm going to go down to the Pollard, Kamara, ETN. What do you think about Pollard coming off the bye? I know that the Rams are still kind of stingy against the run.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's fine. Again, I like more so, the pass game usage here. I like that they're throwing to him. It's full PPR on DraftKings. I'll take some chances. He's not running efficiently. That Dallas offensive line, not opening enough holes for him. And we talk the difference between Pollard and Zeke, like Elliott being the power back, kind of runs between the tackles, can kind of cut some holes and make his own plays. Running Pollard up the middle doesn't really do any good. He's got to get to the outside. And if they're not able to get him to, seal off that edge coop, he's having a lot of trouble making some of these big plays here. Surprising, when the guy's not coming in against these, nickel defenses on third down, he's not able to average 5 yards a carry. Who would have
thought, dude?
Who would have known, right?
It's funny. Yeah, we said the same. People said the same things with Austin Eckler and Alvin Kamara when they became full-time backs. It's like, yes, they're not going to run for 7 yards a carry now, but they. That's the thing is a 1 yard touchdown hurts your yards per carry. Right. Yep. It's like when you have to do the dirty work, the efficiency numbers will change. So
when you're 3rd and 10 and they give you a draw against a nickel and you gain 8, you look great.
Awesome. Yeah.
So, I do like Aaron Jones here. Again, last week, they said he was a little bit on a pitch count. I'm hopeful that this week, after he continues to practice, got in a full practice on Thursday, that he's going to be ready to go. I have a perception that Aaron Jones always does really good against Minnesota. I haven't looked at the game logs. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers helps that case for him as well. But I do like Aaron Jones' involvement here if he could just stay healthy and get a full work share here. I think this is a good spot for him against Minnesota. Again, another running back that gets involved in the passing game, and he's a pretty efficient runner when they give him the football. So Jones at 64 to me, I think is an appealing play in the mid range.
Yeah, I'm in on Jones. He looks so good week 1. So good. If he could just get healthy, man, like he looks like he could score at any moment, and he did. He had like the big reception for a touchdown in week 1.
That was the one. That's what he got hurt on in week 1.
Right. So yeah, if he's healthy, then I'm fully I'm a go. I want to ask you about one, John, because there's a name that obviously jumps from this range, and it's that big green 32 there next to him, and you see, the matchup with Denver. Isaiah Pacheco, is he going to be? Is the rostership going to be too crazy for him this week, or
no? Listen, I think Pacheco is kind of an interesting spot. He is getting a lot of love, but I don't think it's bad to play him because a lot of people tend to go towards that passing offense when we think Kansas City. But he's been one of the more consistent backs that there is. Now, last week he saved fantasy managers. He caught that touchdown. Really was able to get the points there for it. I think it was like the last touchdown that Mahomes threw in that game ended up going to Pacheco. If he doesn't find the end zone there, you're sitting there with 13 for 32, and the day looks a lot worse. But he does score. So, they're not afraid, these days when they get in that red zone, they're not afraid to give him the football here to drive it home. So I don't mind it. Again, a guy that's getting a lot of love, and you can pair him up with Mahomes if you want as well, because 10 targets, 10 catches the last 2 weeks. We all thought Jerick McKinnon was a pass-catching running back in Kansas City. Not the case. It's Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah, I do the snap count articles, and essentially what it looks like is, let's say you split the role into two jobs, run downs and pass downs. Pacheco's getting the entirety of the rundown job and half or more than half of the pass down job. So Jerick McKinnon really only has half of the job. Pacheco has the other 75% of it. That's why I look at it. And I know they've been ticking the pricing up a little bit there, but he's 6,100 again this week,
Right.
despite like the concerns where this guy couldn't catch. He only had like 7 receptions last year. Well, clearly he can. He's catching everything. I mean,
Yeah.
he's caught every target except one essentially this year. So yeah, Pacheco's gotta be in some lineups here at that price.
Yeah,
I think he's gonna be very popular.
Yeah, he is. Again, early Tuesday rostership here. He is the second highest priced running back, rostered running back. The number one rostered running back in terms of rostership this week here, Breece Hall, going up against the New York Giants. He is $5,900. Didn't obviously play too well against Philadelphia, but did have the 5 for 54 in the passing game. Was able to find the end zone running. Really saved his fantasy day. We saw what he did against Denver before that, though. 22 for 177. Probably won't give you 22 for 177, but unlikely to do 12 for 39 either. Right. The Giants just do not have a great defense here.
No, Giants are struggling, man. And like the team came out and essentially, it seems to be legitimate news, not just rumors, but legitimate like offers out there that they're saying, hey, if anyone out there wants Dalvin Cook, come and get him. Like, we're all set. We're not going to use him. Breece Hall's back. We like Michael Carter.
I always felt the Dalvin Cook thing was for Aaron Rodgers. It wasn't necessarily for their plan. And now that they don't have either, it's like, we're good.
Right. Can they trade away Nathan? Can they trade away the offensive coordinator too?
Nathaniel Hackett.
Can they trade away Nathaniel Hackett and Randall Cobb and Alan Lazard?
Probably. Well, Lazard at least plays for them. The other guys can go away. Yeah, I would agree.
For sure.
But they moved on from Mecole Hardman instead. So, who knows? So Breece Hall is going to be uber popular here, like Pacheco. When we go down into the value range at running back, I think it gets a little interesting.
Right.
We talked about running against Carolina. Dameon Pierce has been terrible this season. 100%. Can't argue against it. But Carolina's got one of the worst run defenses in football. However, as we talked about on the Quick Out Fantasy Show on Wednesday, before their bye week, Devin Singletary had double-digit carries along with Dameon Pierce having double-digit carries. Now they've had their bye week. Maybe they reset. They get a better game plan. Pierce is still the lead back, but is Singletary cutting into the work here?
I'm telling you, dude, it's a coaching philosophy, and it starts with the guy we call Kyle Hot Hand Shanahan. His entire philosophy is whoever has the hot hand is going to get the work. Now he has Christian McCaffrey, who has a permanently scorching hot hand, right? But before that, he would be like, they drafted Trey Sermon, they started Elijah Mitchell over him. Like he didn't care. And you see it with Mike McDaniel from his coaching tree, Devon Achane, Raheem Mostert. He doesn't care. He does not care. Whoever's getting it done is going to get in there. D'Amico Ryans and Bobby Slowick are from that same coaching tree. And if Devin Singletary looks better, and last week he looked better, he's currently the hot hand. So yeah, Singletary, man, I'm sneaking him in there for sure at this value range. On the flip side, I'm also I don't trust it as much in redraft, but you got to look around at the news and the narratives and the thoughts and things being said and see if you can get a discount. I kind of like Miles Sanders coming back, where he's a week off the bye. The coach kind of said, oh, we don't know. It's going to be a split to some degree. Well, sometimes what happens in these is it's rumored to be a split, and it could even be a split. I watched Donta Foreman last week play fewer snaps than Darrington Evans. He actually technically played one fewer snaps, but he was the better back and scored 3 touchdowns. I think it's possible that these guys split and Miles Sanders just is the better back. We've seen a game earlier this year where he got like 9 targets. Like Miles Sanders at that price range, I'm willing to do it in DFS. In redraft, it's a little scarier, right? But, these are the shots you got to take, right? Look around in this price range and say, hey, who's cheap? Who could I sneak in and potentially have a guy who's talented? Down here, there's not a lot of talent. I think Miles Sanders has some. So I'm willing to go with the Houston RBs coming one way, Singletary coming one way, Sanders coming back the other way.
Yeah, so Sanders is the interesting one, right? Because another one that has been hurt for a lot of this year, hasn't been able to get 100%, has the bye week to kind of heal up, rest up, and finds himself in a really good position here, to maybe, help out his fantasy managers, play those in DFS. $4,900 is kind of an interesting price for him.
It's cheaper than Jordan Mason, cheaper than Tyler Algier. I mean,
cheaper than backup running backs, right? Yeah. Interesting spot there. Any Kareem Hunt interest here? $5,200. Jerome Ford's out already. I know Kareem Hunt too was a little banged up, but he returned to practice on Thursday in line to be the number 1 running back for Cleveland this week against Seattle.
Yeah, that's another one where people are, they're saying, "Oh, Pierre Strong, he's so fast, he's so fun, he's, the exciting play." It's a little bit of dynasty mixed in with fantasy wishing there,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, Kareem Hunt is a veteran. He's a pro. He's been with this team. These high leverage situations with the game on the line, third downs especially, they're going to lean on the veteran. Goal line, they're going to lean on the veteran. So for me, I do like Kareem Hunt there in this range. I've got another one, John, that I wanted to throw at you. A guy that you and I typically don't like, right? But Jalen Warren this week presents an interesting value. Last year, the Jacksonville Jaguars were pretty good versus the run. They were giving up 6.2 receptions per game to the running back, though, which was the second worst in the league, right? This year, going into the Thursday night game last week, they were letting up 6.5 receptions to the running back per game. So even worse than last year when they were the second worst team. And Alvin Kamara comes out, he has 14 receptions.
Right.
Jalen Warren, the pass catching back on this team, we've seen that the Jaguars, the way they set up the defense is they're willing to do like a little bend, don't break. They're willing to give up those like short yardage, the passes to the running back. This guy, last week, he only had one catch, but we've seen him come out, as you can see there, 6 receptions, 4 receptions, 6 receptions. I think Jalen Warren this week could come out and no Freiermuth, right? Could come out and catch some balls against this Jacksonville team.
Double-digit fantasy points in 4 of the last 5. So
Yeah,
I definitely don't like it for a little bit of a tournament play. Especially you're going to maybe stack that game. He'll be a very low rostered option there for sure. Final guy I just want to mention here, Darrell Henderson. How are you breaking down the Rams backfield here?
I mean, I think that the fact that he came in off the street and kind of took over, kind of got the bulk of the work, in both phases. He ran more routes than Royce Freeman, and he carried the ball more. The one thing Royce Freeman did is there were 14 total pass blocking opportunities. Darrell Henderson got 6 of them. Royce Freeman got 8. So they did have Royce come out and pass block on some pass plays. Henderson did not grade out well, which worries me a little bit from that standpoint. But at that price, 4,800 for a starting running back. I mean, come on. Come on now.
Wide receiver position here. We have a lot. Obviously, there's a ton more wide receivers than there are any other position due to teams starting 2 to 3. So top tier guys, again, Tyreek Hill came out today, said his hip is fine. Don't worry about it. I'll be on the field on Sunday. So include him if you wish at $9,500 against New England there in week 2. 5 for 40 and a touchdown. We've always talked about it. Bill Belichick hit his one thing well. He takes away what you do well. 5 for 40 and a score is not going to pay off a $9,500 price tag. You got to think Bill Belichick's going to be scheming to shut down Tyreek Hill again this week. So just, word of caution when it comes to Tyreek Hill this week. And then you got to figure out Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, $9,000 for Cooper Kupp. Didn't do anything but dominated 2 weeks ago. Last week, Puka Nacua was the hen to rule the roost here. 8 for 154 against Pittsburgh. You said you don't want to figure it out. If you had to figure it out, Coop, if you had to put your stamp down on one,
I just pay it for Cooper Kupp. I don't think that the price, if we were getting a crazy price difference, like if Cooper Kupp was the second highest priced player and Puka Nacua was like 14 or 15, then maybe I do it. But when we're talking Puka's
$1,100.
Cooper's, $1,100. That's not enough for me. I'd rather pay the $1,100 to get Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, and there's enough value I think on the slate that can make that doable this week.
I was really, Tyreek Hill, I do have him in some redraft leagues, but for DFS purposes, I was kind of hoping that he would take a week off because I'm just sick of he has such slate breaking ability that I'm just kind of sick of having to deal with him. It'd be refreshing to have a week where I just said, okay,
don't have to worry about it.
It's not even an option, right? The 200-yard 3-touchdown guy.
I do have a redraft league where I have the Tua Tyreek sack that is doing me very well. In that format. I already mentioned you though. AJ Brown's my number 1 wide receiver this week. There's no reason to go against him. It's Washington, terrible cornerbacks. Jalen Hurts is going to throw to him at will here. He went for 9 for 175 and 2 scores against them earlier this season.
Mm-hmm.
Why is he $8,000 and not $9,000?
I don't know. He's a lock. Yeah, lock for 100. Likely for 125. I mean, it's almost like projected at this point, and he's trying to keep that thing going too. So I'm there with that. When I look around this top tier, I don't know if I love too many of his other plays. I don't really love Chase against the 49ers. Ayuk coming back with no Debo, kind of interesting, but Yeah, I mean, for me this week, I think I'm paying up for Brown, and then I'm probably not paying up for too much more. I think I'm gonna take some discounts. I
Yeah,
think there's some value to be had.
I do think Ayuk is definitely in play here. Now, obviously, Sam Darnold being the quarterback, maybe take some rostership off of him. So if you're a believer in Darnold at $4,300, you're probably going to pair him up with Ayuk this week, anyways. So an easy game stack because Cincinnati's defense is still very bad. So I think Ayuk is fine there. Adam Thielen got a big price bump from where he's been, right? $5,900 up to 66. But how do you argue with the production here? 4 touchdowns in 5 weeks. 9, 14, 8, 13, 13 targets. They're coming off their bye. They're going up against Houston here. I don't imagine they go away from throwing to Adam Thielen here.
He should be priced higher. He should. I mean, dude, you got a guy getting 13, 4, 9. You said it 9, 14, 8, 13, 13.
30 or more fantasy points in 3 of the last 4 weeks.
It's literally just because it's basically it's name brand, it's name value that they're saying. If this was any other player, he would be priced eight grand, right? Like, I mean, if it was any other guy, they would, and again, it's Adam Thielen. We say it all the time. He can't keep doing it. He scored 30 touchdowns in 32 games with the Vikings. He can't do that again. Well, he's got 4 touchdowns the last 5 games. So yeah, Thielen is almost must play at that price. Eventually they will take him away, but that's one where it's like, there's no reason not to do it while we can.
I agree with you. Other mid-tier plays here. Let's get some takes. Where are you going in on at the wide receiver position?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on if you're going Derek Carr, I think you got to go. There's kind of 2 ways to do it because Michael Thomas is maybe a cash game play, but he doesn't really have the yak factor to his game anymore. He's basically just like receptions and maybe a touchdown. Chris Olave is the one that is fairly explosive and can make the big play. So I think with the Derek Carr, I'm either going with him or I'm going to pay down for Shaheed. So we like that. I like Zay Flowers against the Cardinals this week. You look at the matchup rating for some of these guys. I mean, Marlon Humphrey, Brandon Stevens. I mean, sorry, not on the other side. It's the guys Christian Fulton, Christian Fulton, and Sean Murphy Bunting. Like Christian Fulton is a guy that I'm trying to get as many guys in there against him as I can. So let me get sorry, what am I looking at? I'm looking at Marco Wilson, who's the name I was looking for. Marco Wilson is a guy for the Cardinals that we're trying to go after. Yeah. So give me Zay Flowers there. What about you, John? For that range, what are you liking?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few names here that I'm keying in on. Garrett Wilson, Amari Cooper, Christian Kirk. I think all of those are fine when I'm looking to build my lineups here. Kirk finally overtaking Ridley when it comes to price point. First time all season long that's been the case. Interestingly enough, it coincides with the return of Zay Jones. So does Kirk hold that value to you, Coop, if Zay Jones is back?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think that with Zay coming back, he's going to start off being the odd man out, kind of the way T. Higgins did, where, I mean, T. Higgins kind of split snaps with Trent Irwin. We've seen the Panthers do it when their guys come back. Mingo was the odd man out for a bit. I think that for 2 wide receiver sets, Zay is going to be the guy coming out for the time being. So you get 1 more week of Kirk, but it could get to the point where Kirk's coming out. So I like to get him in there this week. There's one name from this group that I'm starting in a lot of lineups. Definitely the ones where I'm starting the quarterback, and that's Nico Collins. That's Nico Collins because people are going to be off of him for a couple of reasons. One is the last couple of games haven't been that great for him, but you got to remember he was going against AJ Terrell. He was going against Marshawn Lattimore. We were projecting that to happen. We were projecting him to come back to earth a little bit after 3 touchdowns in the 3 games prior. So those were matchup related. People are going to also be looking at this Panthers team and saying, okay, it's not that great a matchup. But again, we talked about it earlier, no JC Horn, no Jeremy Chin. So this is really a smash spot for Nico. Like I'm definitely going to have some Stroud Nico stacks this week.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I think he's a great find this week and a good price tag at just $5,500 here. Coop, anybody else for you down here in this like 5K range?
Yeah, I mean, narrative wise, and I know I'm filling in for Howard Bender. So filling in for Howard Bender, you got to name drop Howard Bender guys. Courtland Sutton, maybe. Courtland Sutton is a guy where I think that if the Broncos put up any sort of fight and make this a game, that player has to be involved. And I don't think the matchup's that bad for him. So that's in that 5K ranges. So that's the last name I kind of want to mention. 5,300 and Cortland Sutton.
Yeah, so Cortland Sutton, certainly, if you're going to come back and stack that one. Leaking into the 5K range a little bit, you do have Drake London here at $5,100. Again, if we're playing Ritter, we're attacking Tennessee. I mean, London's really been performing really well here. $5,100 feels too cheap given his recent production. So I'm in on that one. Talk to me about Josh Downs. I know he's a guy that you've been high on. He's $4,800 here, Coop.
Yeah, I would have talked about him there, but you said 5K. And I felt that would have been, cheating a little bit.
I'm bringing him up for you now, man.
Right. So I appreciate you teeing him up, man. Josh Downs, another one. This is the player for me that's going to be in my lineup regardless of who I start a quarterback. And I'm actually probably not going to start Minshew much. This is a guy I'm kind of playing on his own. And we've been picking on one particular defensive player all year, Alontae Taylor, right? He's been, honestly, it's not even his fault. He's supposed to be an outside corner. For the first time ever, he's playing slot. He himself came out and said there's going to be some growing pains here. So he warned everybody. He was like, look, I'm not, this ain't what I do.
This isn't my spot.
This ain't my spot. Yeah. It's like, so he has been getting torched, man. He's been ranked out well outside the top 200 corners on PFF. Robert Woods scored against him. Last week he let up another touchdown.
He was the one that let up the Kirk score, right?
He let up Christian Kirk score. Yeah. He had, we've been betting on everything. We've been betting on him to let up touchdowns. We've been betting on his tackles because he's had to make a lot of tackles lately.
Right.
So this matchup for Josh Downs out of the slot going against Alontae Taylor is an absolute smash spot. And I know he'll probably still be popular at that price because of what he did last week, but it's the good chalk. So Josh Downs everywhere.
Yeah, Josh Downs, a mid-tier love this week. Again, we're looking at some early rostership here, so likely to get some updates as the week moves along, and we'll have a bit more updates as we get moved down. Tank Dell's in that range. Rashee Rice playing more of what Justin Watson's on. You got to think Rice will continue to play, in that close to 60% snap share. Deontay Johnson's also 5K, so a really good range of 51 to 48 here. KJ Osborne, which one draws Jair Alexander this week if he's in? Or are you worried at all about the Addison Osborne against these Packers corners? Because both of them are actually pretty decent.
Yeah, it's been really interesting. The shadow cover guys are kind of going away to some degree. What you're seeing now is that there's AJ Terrell will follow you everywhere you go. Right, he'll follow you all over the field in the slot, wherever. If you go take a water break, he's standing right next to you. If you're he's standing at the urinal next to you, right? He's a true shadow guy. But some of these guys, like Sauce Gardner, he'll cover you if you're on the outside, but he doesn't go in the slot. So Jair Alexander, I just worry that he's going to spend time on both guys and kind of take away the possibility of one guy just going bonkers. So. Yeah, I don't know if I really want to pay for Osborne there.
Yeah,
in that range, the guy I really like, John, and I want to hear your thoughts because anytime we get to talk about no Howard Bender here, the Jets fans gone. I legitimately, you pulled them up already. You pulled them.
I'm reading your mind.
We knew where I was going, buddy. Yeah. So, but Kendrick Bourne's been legitimately a good option, and I mean he's leading the team in snaps now. Devontae Parker on the back burner, leading the team in targets. So,
I will be furious. If Juju returned to practice, no injury designation. If they play Juju Smith-Schuster over Kendrick Bourne or Demario Douglas this week, going to be upset because Juju, he ranks towards the dead last bottom in almost every advanced statistical metric for wide receivers. Separation, routes, all of those things. He's dead last. He's terrible.
Dude, from the snap count articles, I haven't seen a player with the deployment as weird as Juju since Ravens Willie Snead. Remember when we used to call Ravens Willie Snead the spread guard?
Yeah.
Because Juju comes in for run plays and comes out for pass plays. Legitimately, he'll play 30 snaps and only run 11 routes.
He's got the N'Keal Harry role.
It's a crazy, crazy, terrible role for all things fantasy football. So, I don't want to see Juju. I want to see Kendrick Bourne. And we got to talk about the elephant in the room here, the hot man, Lightning McQueen, Pop Douglas, dude. Mm-hmm. Pop Douglas, I think everybody, I mean, there are guys that Josh Downs for me is a guy I'm putting, he's a core player for me. He's going to be in a lot of lineups. I have to have Pop Douglas in at least one or two lineups. Like, I got to sneak him in somewhere because
$3,300.
Yeah, the beat writer Alex Barth for the Patriots summed it up perfectly when he tweeted, "Pop Douglas isn't just electric; he's the whole damn power plant." That's this play right here, man.
He's got like Jacoby Myers vibes, right? Like Jacoby Myers came in, and all of a sudden he was just like a guy that was making plays, right? He's getting open, making plays, and he's like, oh, like sure he was undrafted, or sure he's a late round pick, but like he looks better than everybody else that we have on the roster. And eventually he became the Patriots' #1 guy. Pop Douglas immediately from camp, immediately from preseason, they had him playing with the ones, right. And then in week 1 he starts, and then he has that fumble, unfortunate play, bro. Right? And that was it. That was basically the doghouse for him. Right. He got in sparingly after that, but last week out of necessity played more plays and made some plays.
Yeah. So here's and keep in mind, look at those targets, right? Can you pull that back up real quick? Look at those targets where, every game he's getting a couple and he's popping off for like 20 yards, 30 yards on average, right? 33 snaps week 1, has the fumble. He had 7 targets, right? The next game, 9 snaps, dude. And 3 of them are on special teams. So really only 6 offensive snaps. So he went from 33 offensive snaps to going and playing special teams. So 33 offensive snaps to 9. Then he had 17. Then he had 18. Then he had 7. Week 6 didn't play at all. Last week, 37 offensive snaps. More than Devontae Parker. He is now up and running, baby. It's time to pop. I'm getting them in lineups. I think you guys should too.
I like him. A couple other value names I'll throw out there to you guys. Again, we've talked about Demario Douglas down here. What are your thoughts on Brandon Powell? $3,200, actually cheaper than Demario Douglas here. 15 targets the last 3 weeks. Couple of catches here. Any interest?
Yeah, I mean, so let's just think about how things happened here, right? You had Justin Jefferson playing every snap. You had KJ Osborne playing a massive snap share, and you had Jordan Addison playing a good chunk of snaps, right? But he wasn't playing the full game, but Jordan Addison was producing in that role. And then now that Jefferson's out, you have KJ Osborne and Addison playing all the snaps, and Brandon Powell is the guy that's in the Jordan Addison role. So he still plays a good chunk of snaps in an offense with, Kirk Cousins that's hucket-chucket football. And I mean, look at the price. The price doesn't reflect the fact this guy plays a bunch of snaps, right? So, yeah, I mean, I'm sneaking him in there. What's the price right now? It's
$3,200.
$3,200, man. Like that's where guys are priced that don't even play. That's like we're like
that's what I'm saying.
Ray McLeod is like $3,200.
He's literally. I'll tell you, he's around. And just to give you guys the idea for that, I mentioned $3,200. Guys that aren't playing here. Let's go. So Valdez-Scantling caught a touchdown. Julio Jones, who just got back in the league. Calvin Austin, Van Jefferson, Sky Moore, my boy Jalen Hyatt, $3,100.
That's not bad. That's not bad, but
for a little dart throw play, McLeod's $3K. So yeah, again, a little dart throw at 32. Bender does the dartboard. I think Brandon Powell, Demario Douglas are 2 min-price options to look at. Coop here. We got a few minutes left. Let's roll through these tight ends. Kelsey, Andrews, Locks, Waller, Lock, Goddard.
So I actually like Kelsey and Andrews. I'm doing with the stack. Kelsey, this is how crazy the Broncos matchup is. The Broncos are giving up the most points per game, 16 points per game to DraftKings. And the game that they let up 70 points to the Dolphins, Durham Smythe got hurt. So he only caught 1 pass. So they had a game where they let up 70 points. That's not even contributing to these tight end points. So yeah, you got to do a Kelsey stack there. I actually also like Kittle. I want to mention George Kittle, a guy that we're usually off. He has 3 good games this year. One versus the Cowboys where he caught 3 touchdowns on 3 passes, which is ridiculous, right? The other game that he did really well, the Giants game, Brandon Ayuk was out. So when Brandon Ayuk's out, Kittle goes crazy. Last week, Deebo Samuel was out. There you go, 7 targets. So this week, Deebo Samuel out again against a team that lost both their safeties this offseason. Von Bell gone, and I'm missing the guy that's even better, Jesse Bates, also gone this offseason. So you can definitely pick on the Bengals over the middle. I think this is going to be a Kittle week.
All right. Mid-tier guys, do you like Goddard again?
Yeah. I mean, Goddard, here's the thing for Goddard is that there's been a change in usage. The first 5 weeks, he only had 4 screen passes total. Last year, he led the league in screen passes. Over the last 2 weeks, 6 total. So he goes from getting less than 1 a game to 3 a game. They basically, it's almost like they sat there and they're like, oh, well, what were we doing different last year? Oh,
Right.
the screens to this guy. And they just brought him back. And hey, you know what? Now he's pretty consistent.
Give me a couple value tight ends you like here this week, Coop.
Yeah. So, and I'll even give people, I know this is a main slate show, but I even got a little bonus showdown play for the Sunday night one that I'll throw at you guys. One that's going to be incredibly popular, and I believe it's going to be the good chalk, is you got to get Trey McBride into one lineup. They have not adjusted, they didn't adjust the price. This is just a pricing thing. He shouldn't be 2,800 with Zach Ertz out. Zach Ertz,
he is the highest projected tight end in terms of roster.
He should be because it's again. I think that if the news had come down at a different time, then he should be 4,000, 5,000, somewhere in that range. He's going to play every snap. And Baltimore, quietly, they haven't really faced that many good tight ends. And the ones that they did face that were good, Sam Laporta still caught 6 balls. David Njoku still caught 6 balls. So Trey McBride at that price it's almost too easy. So Trey McBride, you got to do. Another sneaky one that I don't think people really the name doesn't pop at all, but you look at Connor Hayward, right? And once Freiermuth got hurt again, it seems like they just decided, okay, we're just going to use this guy like he's Freiermuth. The Steelers dropped back 29 times last week. Hayward ran 28 routes, didn't pass block one time. Darnell Washington played 30 snaps, only ran 6 routes. So Darnell Washington is basically an extra offensive tackle. People are going to try and get cute with Darnell Washington and whatever. Connor Hayward is a guy that is running all the routes, and he's running all of them. So, right. Yeah, I mean, and what's the price there? 2,600. I mean, The minimum price is 2,500. Right. So there you go.
He's basically a free play. All right, give us that showdown slate play, and then we'll do a quick run through defenses and make a lineup and get out of here.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, so I think that for showdown slate, people are going to be all over Donald Parham with Gerald Everett banged up and probably not playing. I'm going the other way. I'm going Stone Smart. Stone Cold Smart. Yeah, his middle name is Cole too, so it's awesome. Yeah,
I saw you tweeting about that earlier.
Right, converted quarterback, 2 wide receiver, 2 tight end, which is the Logan Thomas path, and he ran 16 routes to only 12 for Parham. So yeah, I'm sneaking, not captain or anything. Let's not get crazy.
Sure,
you throw him in the lineup for dirt cheap and just hope he scores a random touchdown.
Yeah. I'll rattle off a quick couple defenses here, Coop, that I'm in on this week. Obviously, you can play the top price guys. Eagles, Ravens, Jets are all pretty popular this week. I went right back to locking in Cleveland this week. Again, just that defense is just wild.
So good.
Again, they gave up 38 points last week and still came out with 16 fantasy points with all the sacks, turnovers, and the defensive touchdown they had there. The value tier is actually quite interesting, though. The Atlanta Falcons are currently projected to be the highest rostered defense this week because it's either Will Levis or Malik Willis at quarterback here. They're $2,900. The Vikings actually showed up and played pretty good defense the last couple of weeks here now as well. 17 fantasy points against Carolina, 21 against Chicago, 8 last week against San Francisco with a couple of picks here. Now they could be going up, or they are going up against Jordan Love, who's looked pretty bad. So Minnesota's a cheap defense at $2,500. And then why not throw some love to New England here? If you're not afraid of Tua, they weren't really afraid of them last week. Maybe some plays come up here.
Right. And we're talking, I mean,
super deep darts are their main price.
Yes, sometimes you just need the defense that's 2,000 flat. So sometimes you just need
they get you 5-6 fantasy points and lets you spend up for Kelsey, Mahomes, and like CMC. You won't be complaining too much about it.
I just don't understand the Browns pricing. Why
another week where they were 33 last week, they gave up 16 fantasy points. Yeah. I mean, look at these sack numbers. These sack numbers are great. Yes, they've given up some points here, but I don't think Seattle, the way they've been playing, is going to be hanging a big number on them.
Myles Garrett blocked a field goal. Like
they almost scored a touchdown on that field goal block. The guy got tackled, so could have been 2 defensive touchdowns there. Seattle's defense is also getting some love. Another team, they had 11 sacks against the Giants, but knowing that PJ Walker likely the quarterback here, some people like Seattle.
Yeah, I think with Tennessee, the question isn't with the Falcons defense. The question isn't are they going to have a turnover? There will be a turnover with Will Jay Cutler Levis up there. The question is whether the turnover goes for a touchdown or not. So
I would agree. And the sacks with Malik Willis, he runs around and just gets tackled. So I do think Atlanta at 2,900 is interesting. All right, Coop, let's build a lineup here. What do we want to do? Do we want to go chalky? Do we go mid-tier quarterback?
I want to do a Stroud. Let's go Stroud Nico
Get
stack.
Stroud
Yeah,
with
so get Stroud in
Nico. I
there.
like that. I'm going to plug AJ Brown because he's my number one wide receiver here.
Plug him.
Defenses, I'm going to go Atlanta. Save us some cash.
Although it's
With
only if we have an extra $100 to spare, we could go with the Browns.
We can. We'll find out. All right, give me your tight end. You like Kittle? You said, right?
Let's do tight end last, actually, because
Okay.
I think there's enough good matchups that we can just see where the money drops us.
Sure. Brees is your chalk running back. We'll play some of that. Let's go Brees Hall.
Pacheco. I like Pacheco, dude.
You like Pacheco? Okay, that's fine. We'll go Pacheco there.
Well, actually, let's put throw Josh Downs in there and let's see how the salary's looking.
Downs is 48. You talk Pop Douglas, right? Might as well give DeMario a flex play here.
Oh, then we could probably start McCaffrey.
66.50 for a running back and a tight end to close it out. So do you want to spend up at tight end? Or do you want to go mid-tier here? So Kittle gives us a $7,900 running back, which is Kamara.
If we go Trey McBride, can we swing McCaffrey?
We can do better than that. $4,100. If you want to go Trey McBride, though, we can upgrade Pop Douglas here. Let's go McBride at tight end. He's the chalk tight end this week. That gives us $4,600 for a flex. That's going to be a wide receiver here. 46 in the flex. What do we think? Nothing. It's kind of a tough spot.
Kind of an ugly area.
$100 off of Bourne. Can we go down one? Vikings? Yeah, let's go Vikings, Dean said.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah.
And then that's 5K. What's a 5K flex looking like?
Kendrick Bourne. Oh.
Yeah, we can do Kendrick Bourne, Deontay Johnson, Rashee Rice, Miles Sanders. Could go Miles Sanders at 49. Tank Dell, double up with Stroud. What do you think?
Ah, man. How much is Bourne?
Who?
How much was Kendrick Bourne? He's a lot cheaper than these guys.
47. Yeah. It's $300. We can leave.
Yeah, I think that's it right there. All right. I feel good about that.
So we got CJ Stroud, Brees Hall, Christian McCaffrey, Nico Collins, AJ Brown, Josh Downs, Trey McBride, Kendrick Bourne, Vikings defense here for everybody. A little GPP tournament lineup for the folks at home. Again, tune in to the Fantasy Alarm Show on SiriusXM on Sundays. You can listen to Coop and Bender 10 to 11. I am on the live stream 9 to 10 with Brit Flynn. And then again, you get Coop and I from 11 to 12, getting you guys ready for lineup block, going over to the inactives and all the latest news going on with the world of fantasy football. Howard Bender has your playbook, example lineups, and dartboard and everything ready to go Saturday and Sunday as well. Like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and sign up for Fantasy Alarm here. Go to fantasyalarm.com/lock. Promo code LOCK gets you $100 off your annual subscription package there. Scan the QR code on the screen. Click the link in the description. Get all access to everything we do on site for less than $16 a month. It is incredibly hard to be at a deal like that with all the success that we've had this season, last week, and will continue to have on the year. Coop, thanks for joining me here today. Glad to have you. Can always find Coop everywhere, all over Fantasy Slam. He is everywhere. Let's give him a follow on Twitter if you haven't done so already, and we will catch you guys next week.